A DJ is Mr. David Roberts, fantastic DJ that he is. Eli Hedges, one of the greatest people that's ever lived. And all-round good bloke, Mr. Robert Whittaker, UFC middleweight champion and philanthropist.
Wow. How are you guys? Everyone good?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. What's been happening, Eli? We haven't actually had you as here with us. You've always been doing David's job.
Yeah. So not much, just the same old, mate. Just work and family life. Yeah.
We had a couple of delays with the GAP programs and the Gracie programs that we were meant to start in April, but it's looking like we're going to be starting in July. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, probably pretty excited about how things have turned around. So hopefully in the next 8 weeks we'll get things up and running. We've got a cluster of students who are ready to go. Been in contact with them and that as well. So I guess we're just excited to get things up and running again.
Where can people go if they're interested in doing the program?
Probably on our Facebook page, the GAP program.
So if you go Facebook GAP program,
or even on I think we'll share it on our Grange TV. Grange TV on Facebook as well. Plus, you can also most of the stuff is shared by myself or Eli Hedges on Facebook or
And Grange TV, we're going to have the links up on Grange TV for you to follow that. Gracie Smeaton Grange, so SMEATON GRANGE Smeaton Grange Gracie Jiu Jitsu. They'll have the links up. So if you're interested, just please, follow the links. So that should be up and going in the next 8 weeks. Do you want to talk a little bit about the program? Because you are a product of, don't judge us on Eli alone.
I am.
We had some success stories.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's a few better ones than me. I just currently work at TAFE, but no, it was the Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, and then ours obviously has the Gracie component, and then I guess the people involved around it and that as well. We have obviously Rob's coaches, yourself and Alex who were involved, and then having Rob Whittaker himself, the middleweight world champion, which when we were in the program, he wasn't the middleweight world champion to start with, and then we got to go and see him become the middleweight world champion. So that was
the journey.
That was last year. So being a part of that journey, and that was, really, I think everyone has a big connection with you and that now, and follow you and emotionally attached to, every fight that you have. But again, I think everyone who comes down on the program makes that connection and really appreciates, the mentoring and just the little things. It's the tiny little things that's an add-on to a program that make it something special.
Can you tell us about your experience on the program, like what it was like? So from start to finish kind of thing?
Yeah, so it was a bit of a spin out. I didn't from very start. I just did the same expression of interest that people would do online, and then I got a phone call from Fab.
Me, yeah.
You gave me a call. You explained that this is the course. It was a Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, which I was interested in anyway. And then you told me it had a jiu-jitsu component, and then it also had Robert Whittaker. I also enjoyed jiu-jitsu and trained, and I was an MMA fan, so it sort of fit in all at one. Then we came down. We first did our Cert 3, so we would come down on a Sunday. We used to go do the sand dunes.
Yeah,
so used to
that's at Cronulla. Cronulla Beach.
Where Rob trains every Sunday and does the sand dunes out there. So we pretty much got to go see exactly a high performance, training session that Rob did. Not much technology, but just grind it out. And then we would be in class Monday, Tuesday. We would roll Wednesday, and then back to the airport and fly home. So there was people from all over the state. Some people were interested in MMA and jiu-jitsu, and others who didn't have a clue about it, but then I think became fans because of the program.
We're actually trying to run the program out into New Zealand and hopefully out into Queensland as well in the Torres Straits. So we really want to nail that down and then maybe work our way down the East Coast and then Australia-wide. So the next point of call is New Zealand and Queensland. So
that'd be exciting, yeah. Queensland. I don't know so much about New Zealand, but
massive.
I'm super excited to be on New Zealand as well. To be able to take the programs over there and, yeah, you know, like I said, I think last week I got about 600 cousins that are going to jump on board straight away. Yeah, coming out of the woodworks. Yep. But on that point, like when you said before, like when you went through and like when we first started with the program, I wasn't the champion. I think I was fighting Jaco maybe.
Yeah.
And like it's just that I guess that's what makes the program so special, and the groups that come through is that like we become almost a team.
Yeah.
You know, and we join the journey together, and they can see me at my worst in the gym, and you know, I don't always want to be there, and they see that, and they also see me still being there and getting the work in, and yeah, I know it's something special for sure.
I think also with programs like that we have. You know, you see, like Rob just said, you see the ups and downs. You don't just see what people put up on camera. You don't see what just, you know, you don't get to live this kind of vicarious Instagram sort of life. You see that people don't want to go to training sometimes. They don't feel good. You see other training partners. You've seen other guys come through. Had Bam Bam and Tyson Pedro come through as well, and, you know, be guests on the day when they did the podcast, and then people got to meet them as well. And Bam Bam's got a huge following in the Aboriginal community, obviously.
100%, yeah.
You know, and that just having people like that just come through the program, and you just get to see them in real life, like just walking about, being normal.
I think one of the big things as well, everyone thinks they're going to come down here and find out some secret on how Rob became the world champion, and then you take them to the sand dunes, and you mean they're expecting some technology or you're wearing these masks and
run
stuff.
up and down it.
Yeah. You're like, all right, guys, you're going to do what Rob. Oh, it must be something. We just run up and down it. You know what I mean? Or we play a game.
Until we do it a lot. You got to do it a lot.
We run up and down until we feel dizzy.
Yeah. And then they go to the gym and they maybe expect the same thing when they go to the gym. Like, where's these fancy treadmills and ice? You know what I mean? These new freezer and stuff like that. But there's a mat. You know what I mean? A nice clean mat and
matches.
And training partners. You know what I mean?
You were going to say something else about someone? You were going to say something?
Justin as well comes in.
Which Justin?
Well, both Justins.
Justins,
we've had both Justins come in and talk to the students and stuff like that. Justin Lang, obviously, from over there at Cronulla, come in and talk to the guys about the programs he runs and the athletes he works with.
Justin Lang runs Live Athletic in Miranda. He's Rob's exercise physiologist, and he works with, I don't know, I don't even want to start because he works with so many rugby union and rugby league players, works with so many athletes, a lot of different athletes.
It's across the board, isn't it?
Everyone. Very, very, very high level athletes. His brother was like a rugby league legend in Australia, Martin Lang, if anyone followed rugby league like in the 90s. And his dad was a legend as well. He was a Kangaroos coach. He coached at Penrith. I think he's the only father and son team to win
at Penrith
a premiership. Yep. When they won the premiership. So like it's really a lot of knowledge there, and it's like intergenerational knowledge that Justin has. That I think very, very, very few people have that. Like where, you know, he grew up just going to...
Yeah, what was he saying? He was a sandboy there and he used to go to every training session. Like,
yeah, that's how he grew up.
He would strap David Peachy?
Yeah.
He was like a 14-year-old kid or something.
Yeah, and the other thing was because he ended up being a winger, and so he used to... A winger and fullback, and he used to... So he's actually a kicking coach now, a kicking and catching coach in that. And so he grew up... The guys whoever was kicking the conversions and that and training, they'd kick the conversions, and Justin, since he was little, would have to catch it and, you know, run it back and pass it back. And so he basically knows nothing else other than that. The other day, actually, somebody rang at me yesterday, and the guy asked me, which Justin do I think would be best to go and learn boxing from, Lang, Justin Lang or Justin Fitzgerald? And I thought, like, of all the things that Justin Lang can do, boxing is not one of them. Like if you want to know like latest hair trends, all that stuff as well, Justin Lang. The one thing Justin Fitzgerald can do is coach boxing though.
I was going to say, Justin Lang, I seen a post yesterday, he could work on his fitness,
Justin Lang, very, very fit guy. He's an alien.
Super fit guy.
There's some of the, what was your, before we go into Q&A, what's your take, Rob? Like what was your experience like, because you were one of the founding members of the Gracie program, of the GAP program. And what was your experience like working for the last 3 or 4 years with the program?
Yeah, it's been incredible. It's been incredible. You know, you say it a lot, but when I go in there and I meet these guys and you know we communicate, we get back and forth. I end up taking a lot more from them than they take from me.
Well, you don't offer a lot.
God. Okay, I lost my.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, he just derailed me completely. I was building up to something special.
But I tell you what, I think that the students appreciate is just the little things that they get asked. They don't expect to. Do you know what I mean? Maybe for you guys to ask them questions. Say, for example, if someone lives at Lake Cargelligo, do you know what I mean? Then you just will ask, how big's the lake? And
fucking only time Lake Cargelligo will ever get mentioned.
Yeah. But they're the little things, do you know what I mean? Or what community you come from? And they'll say, they come from. Do you know what I mean, Inverell or Tingle or something like that, and the questions that come back at the students, I think they really appreciate that and that as well, that it's not, but you know what I mean, you generally have interest in it and that as well, and you've travelled around, obviously went out to Moree and that them areas, and
like I said it before, I said like we all become almost like a team, all of us, and the communication and the way we treat each other and the way we act, it's all like we're a team. It's all that we're a team, and it's incredible because like you said, like there are days I come to the session and I'm done, and the guys from the program are there watching me, and they're like, "Hey Rob, how are you?" And I'm like, "Not good, not good." And then I crawl onto the mat, and then we get to work.
The other thing I think is good is like people see that, and there's days that you don't do well at training. Other guys, tap you or whatever, and that's something a lot of people don't understand.
Like I think one of the days they came in was when Craig Jones was down. Let me tell you, it wasn't pretty. It was a massacre. I wasn't looking very good that day, and that's just it. That's just it, what it is. What it is. Like that happens, and then the thing is though, like the next day we came back in and we did it again, and it was still a massacre.
I think
it wasn't any better,
but it's just getting there and just doing it.
I think also we've had like. Shout out to Blake Barden, but like Blake Barden works with him as a student support and that, and then they've got to see him training with you and that, and they sort of go like, Blake, like little stubby Blake is one of Rob's training partners and that.
Well, and then Blake's throwing me on my head.
And they sort of go, what's going on?
So just to give a context, Blake's been wrestling and grappling since he was probably 4 or 5 years old. And he works. He's very mild mannered. He kind of looks a little bit like a gummy bear, and what would say?
Look at this guy.
So Blake, and Blake's just one of the teachers, like one of the people that worked on the program, and just to see him then, change into his grappling gear and then grapple, was a very high level grappler. So I think that's a spin out.
They sit back and go, "What is that Blake at?" We've seen Blake train with Rob and Matt, and then they go like, "Blake's actually good." And I'm like, "Dude, he's." And really good.
They treat him a lot nicer.
They're all they go up and start shaking his hand and want to know what's happening and stuff like that. Before that, they're just Blake's calling.
But my experience with the program has been absolutely wonderful. And then to be able to when we went up to Moree and Tablam and stuff, and to actually go up there and to see life up there and to go out to these communities, it was life changing. Honestly, like it just broadened and opened my mind so much that I just grew as a person. And you can't pay for that. It's experience.
I'm really looking forward to Dave and I. And this is the thing. It's hard. It's not as easy like people think. The program, like you can't just turn it around. We've been trying to get programs back. There's a lot of stuff surrounding funding models and whatnot when you run programs of this nature. We've been trying to get back and do some. We did some work before with Torres Straits and whatnot, and we're trying to get back into that realm to work with Torres Straits and Queensland and now New Zealand. That's something that we're hoping over the next year or two to be able to make sure that we can get, to be able to work in New Zealand, to be able to work in Torres Straits, to be able to work in Queensland. That's we'll see how that goes. I don't know. I'm really pumped. I'd love to do that.
So would I. And like one more thing is like going out to these communities and also into like communicating and talking with the class is like it's grown my knowledge of Australian culture so much. Like so much. And then going out to these communities like up in Tablam or when we went out there, it was just helped me grow and learn so much about Australian culture and history. And I can't wait for when we eventually get the programs out to New Zealand and then the Torres Straits.
You have to be excited about that as well because they embrace their culture in New Zealand.
100%. And it's one of those things that I found it's been hard for me to try and make that to learn about that side of my family. And I'm just really really looking forward to it and positive for the next few programs we're going to be running this year.
I think one of the big things with programs like this, working with First Nations people and whatnot, is that you're dealing with cultures and you're dealing with a people that have been disenfranchised, and there's a lack of intergenerational equity in as far as who your extended families are, where your culture is, who your history is and whatnot. And I think programs like this, above and beyond you doing your Cert 3 and Cert 4 or whatnot, is that ability to network and gain a better understanding of your culture and a better understanding of who you are, I suppose. Can you talk about that a little bit, Eli?
Oh, I can sort of, maybe a little bit. One example, and I go back to Blake, but I know Blake, his family is all up from the Bundjalung Nation, which is up around his family's casino, Lismore, in that area, but he grew up in Wollongong. He's actually had people come down from the program, started chatting to him and that, and then finding out that they're like his second cousin or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So even that networking, I think that's a part of it that you were talking about. So just a perfect example of Blake has met family that he hasn't met previously on this program, and that. But and then the cultural part, I guess, I mean, we have people that come from all different, everywhere in the state. Some people are really in touch with their culture when they come down to these programs, others probably not as much. But again, they network together and that, and there's sort of a build of pride, and probably, like you said, that networking goes through a bit more knowledge in that as well. So they might hear someone else's story who's a little bit more in touch if they come from a smaller community like Tinga or something like that, where someone might have grew up in the city, probably not as in touch as much with their culture. They start to network, start to talk.
How important,
find out a little bit more.
Dave, if you can talk on this as well, how important do you think it is for that interchange of knowledge and interchange of culture? Because you have a lot of kids that are disenfranchised from their culture. Can you speak a little bit about that on and what you think about that?
Yeah, I think the foundation of the program and all the programs that we've worked on before, Fab, has always been that link with, when you really know yourself and you're really mentally stable and you got really strong mentally well-being, all the other stuff sort of falls into place. And I think we've spoken before, Rob, around if the whole situation around you is not stable, you can't just focus on the fight. And for a lot of these kids from these areas, a lot of that stuff isn't stable, and one of the big things that keeps someone grounded is culture
and identity,
self-identity. So research for all First Nations people all across the world around whenever they're being disconnected or disenfranchised from their culture or from their language, they really struggle in the new world because they've got nothing to ground them. So pretty much a core element of the GAP program is that we put the culture, and I think we put both of you through an exercise of doing traditional fire starting, and just that reconnection. I think we had Cody Walker and Casey Staples were in that day, and just that exercise, and it just gives you a newfound respect for all that knowledge that has come before us. And you build off that. Yeah, sorry, Rob.
Let the record show I started fire. Fab did not start fire. I would survive. Fab would have died.
I have a question. Simple. I have a question for you, Eli, and for the three of you actually. This is because I find it interesting, and since we're talking about the Grange program, the GAP program, it's an interesting thing related around like. Say, for example, you being white, like your skin is white. How in the actual program, in the actual program with other Aboriginal people, I haven't seen that be a problem.
Yep.
But how do you deal with the lack of intergenerational acceptance, I suppose, from people and that, and not necessarily just from Aboriginal people? Because people ask me, they watch this, they've watched it before, all the time. People go to me, Eli doesn't. I don't think Eli looks Aboriginal, and I mean, I can talk about it, but I don't want to talk about it. I'd rather you talk about it. And Dave as well, for those of you that don't know, Dave is the colour of milk. He's kind of white-ish. And Rob as well, yourself, because like people don't know what background you are. And like I know your mum and I know your dad. and your mum is very very much Polynesian. Your dad's the whitest man on the planet. You're like, and I say this like I'm not very dark, but I'm kind of brown. There's a little bit of chocolate in the milk, but my sister's very fair. My mum is fair, and my dad's probably the same as me. You know, because my grandmother is actually indigenous from South America, and that's why I have these stunning looks. My high cheekbones and the whole thing. Do you want to talk about it?
I think on both sides of my family I have a fair bit of Scottish and Irish, so very strong bloodlines and that there as well. But growing up, I guess, being light-skinned and I also grew up in a community where my family wasn't from, so I grew up in Ballina, up in Bundjalung, and my family a Wiradjuri mob. So I sort of had that disengagement from the start and that, but we had a strong connection with the Aboriginal people there because we all grew up together. I think like acceptance, I was really lucky that I grew up in a strong community up there in Ballina. Our school was really supportive, and the group of friends and that I had around, that were pretty much family.
Do you find that people will say stuff, because like with my sister and I don't hear a lot of stuff a lot of the times that people say.
I hear it, but
because people don't say stuff to me when I'm there because I'm thing, but they might say my sister's very fair, so they'll say something my sister, but inside we're both the same. So do you get that?
Yeah, no, I get the from the other side.
So you'd be like my sister. You would hear.
Yep. They might say, "Do you know what I mean?" Like Aboriginal people usually do that. Hold on a second. Like, no, they don't. I'm an Aboriginal person. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Oh, but you're different. You're different. Different how? I'm Aboriginal. I'm not different to any other Aboriginal person. Do you know what I mean? They're still just human beings. There's good ones, bad ones, just like white Caucasian or.
You were raised on a mission?
Yeah, a little bit of a mission. So they've got Cabbage Tree Island, and then Cabbage Tree Island started getting moved. They were moving everyone off the mission into West Ballina. So then one by one they would move into West Ballina and West Ballina is where I mainly grew up. So from a young age, 4 or 5 or something like that. So then West Ballina sort of turned into, so let's say Cabo is around 20 k's outside of Ballina, and then to try to get them integrated into the society and that, they started moving them all into West Ballina. But then they just created, I guess, the same problem as just any other mission. They just put everyone together, and we sort of face the same issues in that area as what a lot of them do on the missions and that. There's some other places where they've tried to change it up. I know up in Canelabar, when they moved everyone there, they call it checkerboard. So what they did, they would put a Aboriginal family next to a non-Aboriginal family, then an Aboriginal family next to a white family and that as well. But they still sort of had the same issues, and that didn't really spread them around. So West Ballina, when I was growing up, if you were at school and that, I'd tell people I lived at West Ballina, and they would be like, you can't walk around there and stuff like that. Like, that's a no-go zone. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's probably the best place to get a game of, backyard footy, but it's where I grew up, and that was the norm to me.
Yeah, one of the big things that let me down about you was we wanted to try different cuisine and experience, like do some hunting and whatnot.
I'm glad you brought this up.
And people saying, well, we'll try and get you a goanna, we'll try and get you this, we'll try and get you that.
That's so out west. And
then Eli goes, I'll take you hunting and we'll think what, I thought, okay, here we go.
I said collecting.
And then I said, what are we going to go hunt? And he said pippies. And that to me is not hunting. And
did you not go hunting for pippies? You rang me earlier this year.
Yeah, by myself, but I went and I caught some pippies, but they're not hard to get. Like, there's not.
You were excited.
They run away.
No,
he was very excited when you called me.
I got a whole bunch of them. That time we went to Brisbane, when we were in Brisbane for the Broncos. Well, same topic, same question. What's your take on it?
It's hard for me to answer it, I guess, because a lot of my Polynesian side is in New Zealand, and it's funny because I have got like another group of family here, like cousins and stuff. Just one family over here on my mum's side, but it was a bit funny because when my mum and dad split up, I lived with my dad, and the kind of New Zealand side didn't really speak to my dad, so it was like it created a sort of rift. from me and the Māori side. And once I grew up and I grew into my own, became my own man sort of thing, I reached out, and I'm in touch with them now, and I've been over since, because when I fought over there, and I've been over there to talk to them, and I've seen my aunties and uncles over there, and I've done all that, but I'm still in the process of trying to close that rift, because it's just it was hard. It was hard. Like, I just didn't have any connection to it when I was younger, So that's why I'm so passionate. I'm so enthusiastic about moving the program to New Zealand, to try and make a bridge there, a connection.
Dave, how common is a story like these stories, both for Rob and Eli, like in that the ability to identify the loss of identity culturally?
Oh, it's common.
And yourself, if you want to talk about it, because you're pretty, like I said, pretty clear.
Yeah,
like
so
almond milk.
The best analogy I've ever heard around sort of identity and like sort of skin color is sort of like, you can be any different type of shade of coffee, but you're still coffee.
Yeah.
So you can chuck your chocolate in there and come out a creamy caramel like yourself. But at the end of the day, your identity is your identity, and your family is your family. So pretty much the way how I always try to explain it is that as soon as you tell me I'm not Aboriginal, that means I have to then say that my father didn't exist, his parents didn't exist, and that whole lineage and that whole culture doesn't exist in mine, because the dominant culture says that I'm not that. So pretty much that's the hardest part. And when you're trying to reconnect, then there's the conflicts of family history, a whole bunch of other stuff. My dad is actually where Eli, so pretty much Eli's story is the complete reverse of mine. My dad left the mission from Ballina and sort of Lismore, sort of from Cabbage Tree Island, came to Sydney when he was a kid, met my mum, who's Maltese, who's as white as snow. I call her a ghost. But pretty much that story of my dad leaving his community at the age of 14 to come to the city, you know what I mean? Like, that's empowering. And I think sometimes because of we're always tricked that, First Nations people are not powerful and strong, we bite more into that side and hide our Aboriginality or hide our First Nations background, just because, one, we don't get overly exposed to it, and two, is we don't actually see the strength in it. Where one of the things I can't wait to go over to New Zealand with you for is that they've managed to really make their First Nations culture prominent, where it's part of their society, where everyone does the haka. I would love for everyone to be able to do some traditional Aboriginal practice. Or just
up until recently, that's seen as a joke. Like, like Aboriginal culture in Australia up until recently, and even still in with a lot of people, it's seen as like, and I hear it, like not so much now, because obviously they people know I work more in Aboriginal programs, but I hear it like just people talking in.
Yeah, you'd like to see the whole nation embrace something like that.
Yeah, like but especially like you hear shit like that from people that are educated in positions of, like, you know what I mean, that are in certain positions that you just think like, man, you can't, like, you can't say that political correctness. I think like what like saturated fats and shit do you have in your brain that makes you think that that's okay to say, And I understand if you're some ignorant person that didn't have education, I get that, but there's people that are in educated positions that have that frame of mind. I was actually going to ask you, is it hard to identify? Like, is it hard, or have you tried when you were growing up to not identify? Because I've read things about like Kyle Vanderkuyp, the hurdler, and I could be mistaken with this. So Kyle, if you're not, this is not true. I apologize. I'm just repeating something that I read. That and like, I mean, from what I understand, his story wasn't an easy one.
Yep.
But he would try and like not identify as Aboriginal. To try and take the colour off his skin if he could, and it was real difficult, like for you. But you were already fair.
Yeah, so I didn't have that problem. I think it was funny when people ask, do I ever been questioned? Do you mean about my Aboriginality? And I think I get questioned off non-Aboriginal people more than what I do Aboriginal people. I can always make that connection with my people. I remember something that was really powerful.
What colour are your parents?
My mum's obviously dark, but my dad's white. Do you know what I mean? He's light skinned. My nan is obviously Do you know what I mean? She's where it comes from. Is
your dad Aboriginal as well?
No. So he's light skinned. He's got Irish and Scottish in his family. But I remember something really powerful when I was young, and I've heard a lot of people say it now, TAFE and PJ and stuff like that. But the AEO at the time was Nathan Manton.
What's an AEO, just for people?
AEO, Aboriginal Education Officer at the high school. So he used to do a lot of our cultural stuff, teach us dance, would go on excursions and that. And I always used to say, like, when people would question about my Aboriginality, I would say, oh, I'm a half caste or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And think that I would have to go back to that term. And I remember he pulled me up, it would have been 14 or something like that. And he goes, Eli, there's no half caste. You're either Aboriginal or you're not. Do you know what I mean? You've got to stop using that term of whether you're half caste or have to explain of where your Aboriginality is from. If you're Aboriginal, you just say, I'm Aboriginal. Do you know what I mean? There's no, like, who in here is Aboriginal? Oh, well, I'm half caste. No, you're not. You're Aboriginal or you're not. Do you know what I mean? So that stayed with me as a young age. Do you know what I mean? Something that was really powerful. And I was an Aboriginal Education Officer at the same school I went to, and it was something that I really wanted to pass on to the young people, and that is there as well. And I encourage everyone to, do you know what I mean? The same with anyone who has identity, do you know what I mean? Own it. Once you start to own it, I think, do you know what I mean? You get more comfortable within yourself and that, and then your community.
I have a question for you, Dave. Can you, or Eli, either one of you, I have my own version of that, but I just want, when people say that, when they go, because I've many times I've spoken with people about that, and I get it. And people say, well, no, like, I'm half German and half French, and why can't you be half Aboriginal?
Yeah.
Dave?
I think it's in context as well. Like, it's really what you feel also inside. Like, I think if I was more connected to my Maltese mum's heritage and I was overly exposed to that area, and that's where I draw my drive from, I would probably say, oh, Maltese. But pretty much I feel my heart, especially being born in Australia as the First Nations people, that's what I connect closely with. It's also accepted more within the Aboriginal community, that ideology, because through generations we've been trained to embrace more of the non-Aboriginal side, and we were octoroons and quarter caste and all that sort of stuff. That terminology we got rid of. So now it's sort of like, just be proud of who you are. Be proud of the Aboriginality. It's not saying don't ignore the white side. We're just saying that we are Aboriginal because we've never been able to take that stance before. So it wasn't really until like the 70s, 80s that we were able to just say we're Aboriginal. Where a lot of the people at the time were saying they were from Italy or something else, just so that they would hide their Aboriginality. And I get hiding Aboriginality too, because even we went to high school together. I think through year 7, year 10, I switched off my Aboriginality. And I know that sounds crazy, but I just got sick of being called an ABC. I don't know if you've ever heard that. So an Aboriginal bum cleaner. So an ABC, that's pretty much it. So you just get the stereotypes, and sometimes for me it was easy to black it off, but I became very dark in terms of my mental state until I said, hey, I'm actually denying all of this of my identity, and I need to actually connect with this. Year 11 and 12 is where I came back. I got off drugs. You know what I mean? Like, I just started finding myself. So when I say that I'm Aboriginal, it means I'm just connecting more with the part that drives me, and that's the fire in my belly. Ever since I've made that connection, that's when I started to run programs. I've learnt more about my dad's family. And you normally only learn about that. Well, you don't actively learn about that if the whole life you're being told that they're bludgers and that they're hopeless and they're alcoholics. Why would you want to learn about that until you're mature enough to say, actually, there's something wrong here, and you really do the research? And that's what I would like Australia to get to a point where the ideology is that it's not Aboriginal history. It's Australian history.
Yeah, 100%.
Where I think we still segregate the two. And by us saying, we're Aboriginal, it's just really making sure that Australia doesn't forget that there is a First Nations people.
Do you know the story, and if you don't know the names, you probably know, the story of Tommy Smith and John Carlos, the 1968 Olympics? You would have seen it, the two, the fist up in the air.
With the glove, yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't know, the guy that came second is an Australian guy, Peter Norman. That was actually at the time the fastest 200-metre race ever run. And he was an Australian dude. He didn't put his fist up in the air, but he put the pin on his chest.
Yeah.
because the whole thing was about human rights, and being black guys, they were about the human rights, not just in the US but everywhere. But Peter Norman, he put the emblem on his thing. This was 1968. So what? 67 was a referendum made. Before that, Aboriginals were with the flora and fauna. Yeah. So that's what people don't associate that. So these guys in the US were, in this situation, this guy was white, Peter Norman. He was white, and he put the pin on his chest, and he stood there with these two other dudes that had their fist in the air. And when he got back to Australia, it was like on for him. He really suffered a lot for supporting. Yeah, well, people don't understand what was happening in Australia at that particular time. You know what I mean? In this 60, that was 1968. So 1967 was a referendum. 1968 was those Olympics.
Yeah.
So just to put in perspective, this is not something that happened 5,000 years ago. This is now, and the guy was white. You know what I mean? Like, somebody was, hey goes, the white dude. Yes, the white dude. Yeah, he's an Australian guy, Peter Norman. Fast guy. And you know what? Like, people like. That would have been. Imagine how hard it would have been for John Carlos and Tommy Smith. I've read Tommy Smith's book, and it was hard, like ridiculously hard for them. But you look at it. Imagine from as a white guy as well. Like you're sticking up for something that's like totally against the establishment. Like you know what I mean. Like that would be tough too. Like that in a much different way. But he could easily just blend into white culture and do his thing, but he didn't, and that's hat off to you. He's since passed away, but hat off to you. I don't know. Do you want to go into the thing, or do you want to keep going with this? Or
let's jump in with some questions.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll start at the start of the.
Okay.
I was going to say, don't go now, Rob.
I was just
can't do it. All right. Will we see more of your grappling in your upcoming fight?
Maybe. No, we'll see. I train every angle of offense, and if the fight goes there, it goes there. But I'm going to go into this fight with I'm going to one shot him, and that's my mentality going into this fight, is that I'm going to melt him. That's it.
Sweet. This one?
There, pick one.
Costa and Romero. And Souza and Jack.
What happened with that fight? Is Romero fighting Souza, or did that fall through? No. Is Costa fighting Souza now? No.
I thought.
Souza and Jack are fighting this weekend.
Okay. Yeah, Jack.
I know that one. I don't know about the Costa and Romero.
Jack was the replacement, eh?
Yeah. So
Costa, Romero. Well, I think Romero fell through for the first one. Costa fell through for the second one, and are they still paired? They want these guys to fight so bad.
Yeah. I think everyone wants them to fight, but I don't know if there's a date or anything like that. Fab may know.
Honestly,
Let's go the Souza.
If Romero comes into any fight like he did with me that second time, he'll kill everyone. Honestly. And as for Souza and Jack, that's a hard pick. I will never count Souza out. He's too good at what he does. But even what he's not particularly good at, he's just strong, tough, and gets the job done.
Costa and Romero, they are both.
The UFC want them to fight so bad,
aren't they? I think that's it's nearly like a something you see in the Pride Days or something. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Are they fighting in Mexico?
How fucking dare you?
Are they fighting in Mexico or? I don't know. Anyway, that'll be interesting. That will be interesting.
You know what I think? Have you seen that movie Rampage?
Yeah.
That's the kind of image I get when I see those two guys fighting each other.
Souza and Jack. Jacare. I think I don't know. He's a beast.
He's too. I have too much respect for him to go against him.
Yeah, I think of that.
I kind of want the older guy to win, because he's just like an old dude.
Hermanson's good, but
that's tough.
He's very, very, very good,
and he stays in there and he's good at what he does. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Weights.
How much? You're moving. How much weightlifting work? How much weightlifting specific work do you do? Days per week? Is it heavy weights? Are you asking me or Eli?
Yeah, obviously. Eli. Impressing people.
Yeah. I work with Justin Lang a couple days a week, and we have a very specific training model around me and my body and the sessions that I work with my other coaches. We have a very open line of communication between all the coaches, so that we all kind of know how we do it. Do you want to explain that a bit better, Fab?
So he has 2 scheduled sessions with Justin Lang a week, depending on. So it's pretty periodized programs, pretty specific to what he does. Depending on what time of the year and what he needs at that particular time, Justin tailors the training around that. So if there's an injury or something like that, then a lot of the times it's going to be specifically about dealing with that injury or getting him ready. But overall, the weight training, the stuff that we do with Justin Lang is to get him as big and as fit and as strong and as fast as possible to be able to perform on the mats. You know, mats being a general term for, you know, in the octagon and whatnot. We don't go into the Justin Lang's gym and spend a whole lot of time mimicking what we do on the mats. The mats are the mats, and the whole point of going to Justin Lang's is to get as good as you can be physically, so you can use your body as a vessel to gain as much technique and strategy and tactics on the mats. So
you don't post much about your weight training and that, do you?
No, like there's a lot of posts about it, but there's not in.
I see a few on Justin's.
Yeah,
on that
there's not a lot of in detail. Hey guys, I'm doing 6 reps of this weight.
Yeah.
You know, if they want to work it out, they can go ask Justin. Like, it's not even hidden. Like, just go sign up to Justin Lang's gym, and you could do my program too.
Yeah, yep.
You know, you can be just like me.
The Cows McDowlin said, "Pull this Australian bird," and I showed her Bobby Knuckles. And she said about your tattoo and explained it had meaning, apparently something of significance in Australia. Can we have an explanation? I think you could have done the whole thing without letting us know that you picked up a girl.
I like how he said, "Pull this Australian bird."
I'm really, really happy for you. I'm really, really happy for you that you did.
Right on.
Good on you, mate.
Yeah, right on. He's talking about the Southern Cross.
I'd imagine so. Do you want to explain both tattoos?
Yeah, I don't know. When I was 18, my old man said he'd get me a tattoo, you know, to represent my roots here. And there was the Southern Cross. It's kind of like a stamp in the Southern Shire, I guess. Everyone laughs at it a little bit, but I know I'm very proud of it. And then when I was 21, he got me a tattoo to represent my other half and my Māori culture. And yeah, I'm very, very proud of my roots, where I come from, and the history behind that. And, you know, I draw a lot of strength from that.
Ibrahim Ayman says, do you think there are any similarities between Wonderboy and Adesanya in regards to distance control? And if so, will you overcome this? Or how will you overcome this?
I think Wonderboy fights more on the outside. Adesanya fights more in that mid-range. His mid-range is like my outside though, because he's very long and tall. So I think Wonderboy is very good at being away, out of the striking range.
I think that comes a lot from that sideways karate stance.
Yeah, and then coming in. Whereas Adesanya sits in the mid-range and does lean back, slips, that sort of stuff.
And you can do that being in the ring. Like if you have that's because he did 80-something ring fights, Adesanya, and Adesanya's a 50-something full contact karate fights, most of them not necessarily in a ring. So that sideways stance allows you to, if you did that in a ring, you take one hop back and you're on the ropes.
And you're on the ropes and you get fed.
It's actually, I think they're quite different, eh?
Very, 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 very different. And there's the very different approach in offense on my part. So I'd have to have very different approaches to Adesanya opposed to when I fought Wonderboy. And I fought Wonderboy, and I'd probably have a different approach again.
How long is the road to becoming a coach, trainer for boxing, kickboxing, BJJ, etc.? I'd love to learn and go to rural or underprivileged communities to teach. I can answer you that I don't even train, and I just started, just had a go at it. And
here I am.
I guess, Eli, you're a coach as well. Yeah, and you were basically from rural communities. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
About becoming a coach and that? I don't know. It's just something that I was passionate about when I was young, and I boxed and do you know what I mean, and played footy and that. So I also wanted to pass that on to the younger people. I think I always go back to some of the coaches I had. I remember they were mentors in my life, and I wanted to be like them. So pass that on. To get into it, I think you really got to know the sport and that as well. I don't think you can just go, I enjoy boxing, I might be a boxing coach. Do you know what I mean? You really need to know the ins and outs, whether you want to be a footy coach or something like that, because there's a lot more to it than just enjoying the sport. So I think you really need to surround yourself in it, and then do you know what I mean, participate as much as you can, and then you might get into the coaching of it. I don't think you can just sit back and go, I want to coach lawn bowls tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? I think I'll be a great lawn bowls coach.
Another thing is a lot of people, I think the majority of people don't understand, is like, you may be a great fighter but a horrible coach.
Yeah, like big time. Or you might be a horrible fighter, but a super good coach.
Yeah, what you looking for?
But it's, do you know what I mean? It's very true.
A terrible fighter, but a great top-notch coach.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's very different, because like the coaching and fighting, like they need different traits. They need different traits, completely different.
Nearly like being a teacher, a coach. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So
I think coaching should be a teacher.
Yeah.
You know, coaching and teaching that's how you should look at it. Like it's good that you asked to say that, because I was going to say, like, I think the other thing you got to remember is, what change do you want to affect? So are you wanting to give more? Because you said boxing, kickboxing, BJJ, etc. Are you wanting to affect change in rural and underprivileged communities by using martial arts as a conduit? Yeah. You know what I mean? So in that sense, and that's probably the most common thing. You know, it's then my advice would be start training in that, but you might start just helping out and cleaning out the mats, you know, just helping out. And in those communities, like I had a mat at Miller PCYC for, 15 years, you know, and the kids were definitely from underprivileged backgrounds there. And you're never short of needing someone to give a kid a lift or buy a kid lunch or take the kids to the comps and that. So you might not be able to start doing the technical stuff right off the bat, but there's no reason why. Man, there'll be plenty of kids for you to be able to mentor and drive to the games or drive to the matches or whatnot. So I think it's understanding what change you actually want to affect. Because if you've got the experience and you might start off then work your way into, you know, being a great technical and tactical and strategic coach as well. So I think getting involved and getting started is the most important thing. I've got a question here from Alphonse Moana. And it says, I reckon Robbie and Izzy are more alike than they'd like to admit and would probably be great friends. Fab, any thoughts? Look, honestly, I will say this. You can't just look at them like this from a position where these two... If I was going to play basketball against someone, I would not be... I'd rather just stay in my room and they can stay in theirs. And then when we got to play and there's going to be, you know, $500 on the line, we'll play and then we'll do what we do and then we'll go. But make no real mistake about it. I want to beat you, and that's for $500 in a game of basketball. Like there is no anything. There's no mistake. I might carry it different. I might pretend that it doesn't matter. But you both want to win, and you got two guys that are top end of their sport, and it's very hard to say. They may or may not be friends. I don't know. They're both grown men that have their own life and whatnot. But I do think that a lot of the fighters have a lot of more similarities than people would care to acknowledge. You know, so I don't think it's that far fetched. I don't know that they'll. But right now it's very hard, man, because Israel wants to knock Rob's head off and vice versa. You know, and there's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of stuff on the line, and it's no different. But in fairness, it's no different to Jacare. Jacare is like a really, really, really nice guy. Like when I was in 2009, I was in Brazil, and I was at the Abu Dhabi trials. He wasn't competing, And I never go up to people. Oh, can I get a photo and that? But I've always been a fan. And I went up to him, and he was actually he was actually busy with somebody else. And I waited, and then I said to him, "Hey man, can I get a photo with you, please?" And he said, "Look, I got to go somewhere." And he goes, "But I saw you standing over there. I'll come back and I'll get the photo with you." And he walked off, and I thought, motherfucker, the only person I've ever wanted a photo with. And he came back and he found me, and we took the photo, and then we had a little chat, and then he went on his way. And like, nice as Jacare is or whatnot, he wanted to kill Rob. You know what I mean? And vice versa. And they can't be friends under those circumstances. It's maybe some people can, but it's very, 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 very difficult. So I think that they share a lot of common goals. That they share, Israel and Rob would share a lot more common goals than most normal people would, with their workmates and what. And their stories would be very similar in as far as, overcoming adversity, a lot of stuff they think about and everything. But that isn't the situation right now. The situation right now is that they're going to fight, and it's going to be a top end fight, with very small margins for error. So maybe they would be friends, I don't know, in a different setting, but a fight
they're not.
Yeah, right now it's
we wouldn't be friends. We wouldn't be friends. I don't have many friends to begin with. Hey Fab, you were secretly going for Jacare that fight, weren't you?
I was. Hey, thank you for the photo. I was a huge fan of Jacare, actually, I have to say. What do you think of the middleweight division at the moment? And are there any possible opponents in any division that you think present an interesting challenge? Israel Adesanya.
Yeah, I have to fight Israel Adesanya. He's going to be a challenge. And, it's the only challenge right now. So I'll just focus on him.
What does the MMA audience not know about the significant brain damage that fighters sustain after a KO? What's a lasting effects, and how frequent does it happen in the gym? I think you can talk about this as well. I think it's important.
It doesn't happen a lot in our gym because we're very conscious of the fact that head trauma is real, brain damage is real, and we try to mitigate the amount of trauma we take to the head. So but I do know that it's very prevalent in a lot of other gyms and around the world, and especially in combat sports. What do you?
Yeah, I think I've spoken before on here about it, where as a young kid growing up in the boxing gym we went to, we would spar every afternoon, and it would just be, do you know what I mean?
Full fight?
Yeah, put the headgears on and just turn the fans on, just try to knock out your best mate. But do you know what I mean? That's how we learnt to box, and back then it was
brain damage didn't exist back then.
You always had the little white flashes, do you know what I mean? But when you got one of them, that means I'm turning it on now. He just got me.
On high.
I'm getting him with a better one. And but looking back at it, probably not too healthy for you. I think everyone's a little bit more wiser on it now. Yeah. When I used to coach, I used to try to keep sparring to just once a week and still not 100%. You'd have some guys coming into the gym and they would whinge about it sometimes, you just don't spar hard, you know what I mean? You need to spar hard every night, and that. I'm like, if you want to end up brain dead.
Yeah, if you want to nappy when you're 30.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go ahead or go back to the gym that you came from and spar hard every night. Do you know what I mean? But I think everyone's a little bit more wiser on it these days. I wouldn't suggest sparring every night with your best mates trying to knock each other out.
I have that conversation with people because we don't do a lot of, we do still spar at the gym, but we don't do a lot of sparring, and people ask all the time about that. And I think everything comes back to you can spar and you can spar hard, but what is it that you're doing? What are you trying to get out of the session? What do you if it's to go, all right, we're going to give Rob or Jacob or Dave or whoever a hard run, etc., then and it's going to be this many rounds, and these are the things we're trying to get out of it and make sure that we get that training in, then you're going to get a lot of good stuff out of your sparring, and it's going to be monitored, and you're all going to be looking at it. If it's just I don't know what, we got very set days and the times that sparring starts and everything's there, so we know that when we're going to do it. But if it's you just go there and you go, hey, you know what, man, do you want to roll today, or are you going to go for a run, or do you want to spar, and you just punch the shit out of each other and there's no real outcome from that, then No, I don't think there's like that. That's when I think a lot of the damage occurs as well, because it's not even mimicking the fight. Like in a fight, you should be, when you go into a fight, you haven't done anything else in the day. You go in there and you're just fighting. And when you spar, it should be as close to the fight as possible, you know, so it should have that feeling of you getting ready, you feel that adrenaline. That's my opinion on it anyways, and the rest of the team kind of have the same opinion on it.
I want to just answer this question. If Rob is such a bad dancer, why is his footwork decent? Why am I a bad dancer?
Yeah, who said that? Someone's put you in there. Is there footage?
Also, I'd say your footwork's better than decent.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But
Do you dance?
I'm a decent dancer as well.
You dance?
Oh, I can bump and jive with the best of them.
Bump and jive. Wow.
It's not a dancer, right? Bump and jive.
Hey, Rob, question for you. Were you ready for the fame? Did you want that in your life?
It's not something I've ever wanted. And I guess I was ready. I don't know. It's a hard question to answer because, like, my team doesn't act any different. I don't act any different. I don't really let it get to me very much.
Can I speak a little bit on that? I think we don't change stuff a lot. That's done purposefully done. Like, so say for example, if you, and I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying to you how things affect stuff. If you win a fight and then you go out and you party and you're snorting coke off $3,000 a night hookers' backs and you have 1 million friends in your hotel room, and that's what happens when you win a fight. And when you lose a fight, you're by yourself and you're in your room eating pizza, watching TV. That difference is huge. You know, so realistically, you shouldn't really have a big difference between whether you win or whether you lose. Like it's just a fight, and the fight's a fight. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. And if you lose, you're not going to like it. No one's going to like it. If you win, you're going to like it. But you should try and keep that to about the same. You know, that's my opinion. And then when you see like people that identify with being famous, or they identify with people that finish PhDs, people that achieve big massive goals, a lot of studies have shown like there's like rates of suicide and or depression a lot of the times go up, and that's just basically because they're expecting, okay, I've reached this, now what happens? I've won the world title, now my life is going to change, now my life's going to be all right. I got that job and now my life's going to be all right, and it's actually not. You know, your life is not going to be like that. Like it's you have to keep nothing magical is going to happen. And if you identify with just being famous, you identify with just you winning or whatever, it's going to be sad because everyone loses. It's going to happen. Rob, will you handle Izzy's reach and height advantage better than Kelvin?
I think so. I think I'm a better outside fighter than Kelvin. I think
Kelvin handled him pretty well in the first few rounds.
He did.
He circles well. I think he gets to that and gets that left hand down. Do you know what I mean? Better than a lot of people. He gets that outside foot,
and he's subtle. He's very subtle with closing the distance.
Oh, I think he did well, and I think Adesanya, it's just testament to how good he is too. Like, you know, that had Gastelum, like, I thought he handled it quite well. Rob, what part of your game would you most like to improve?
All of it. My basketball game.
Fucking basketball's terrible. Imagine watching a shot putter on acid. That's what. That's Ali Hyder says, Fab, stop giving so long answers, please. Look, Ali, I would, but it's not that easy. You're asking a complex question that requires a complex answer.
Why will you let Rob answer the question?
I will. I'm sorry.
How will you handle? What was it? How would you handle his reach? The Fab show.
Sorry, I got carried away.
I think like you said, I think Gastelum did it well. I think I can just do it better. I'm faster on the outside. I'm a better outside fighter. I close the distance, I think, a little better than he does. And I've got a little bit more reach.
Yeah, Gastelum's a little bit more flat-footed the way he fights compared to you. So I think he did pretty well being a flat-footed sort of fighter.
Gastelum kind of rolls in, steps in subtly.
He sneaks in.
Yeah, he doesn't explode in and close a lot of distance very fast like I do.
Can you go back up there?
This guy's defending you.
Good on you. What's his name?
Ali.
Nah, Ali was the guy who bagged me.
Nah.
Now he's backing you up, is he? Yeah.
Well, where is he? Where is it? I've lost
Here we go again. No. Alright.
Here. No, Yoj. Ali, watch how you speak on my title.
And Noah as well. Thank you, Noah. What was another question there?
Yeah, the main question keeps coming up is preferred fighting location. Sydney and what stadium?
Sydney and let's get it out west. You know, if we can.
Bank West,
yeah.
Preferably if we can get it in Camden. Camden Showgrounds, or maybe Smeaton Grange, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. If we can host an event there, that'd be great. But Bank West, let's get it as close to home.
How many
as
numbers
possible.
in Bank West is it?
50,000 maybe.
No, Bank West is smaller, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was
30 something.
I'm not gonna lie, I guessed.
Yeah.
30,000.
You'd sell that, no problem, mate.
No, I think that's small, but
yeah,
honestly,
you think this could go bigger?
For sure.
I think this is going to be a big sellout, so they're going to probably pick one of the bigger stadiums.
Well, do you think they're going to try to push you into somewhere else then? Because of the better stadiums, like better facilities, maybe in Brisbane or Melbourne?
I think they're going to try. They'll push for the biggest seating stadiums, so that just so they can sell the tickets.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me. I just want it close to home. The closer, the better.
Yep.
Why not?
Say that other one, Rob. What's the gayest thing you've done in the octagon? I write that.
Wait, I can't answer that.
Yeah. Grappled with a sweaty man from Cuba.
If you're asking my dad, it was a toe stomping.
There was one earlier about the ADCC.
No, don't worry about that one. Don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
So the question was, and I'll ask it: how do you think you'll do in this ADCC trials?
Yeah.
I do want to talk about it. Who knows? I'm going to go in there. I'm going to compete. I'm going to do my best, and that's kind of it. It's don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
No. Okay, Rob, do you consider yourself a karate practitioner, or is it just karate influenced?
I did karate, and my style is definitely karate influenced. But I don't still practice karate like traditional karate. No.
This is a cool question. Do most MMA fighters wax? I rarely see MMA fighters with hairy chests. Any reason for this?
I don't know. I don't ask them. I have problems with growing hair very fast.
I think Joshua Wilcox hates you.
Where?
Everything, he just shits at you. Fad, my missus wants to leave me for you. How do you feel about this? I talk a lot, man. Like not when I'm by myself, not when I'm out in public, but in closed settings, like with my friends. There's a guy here that hates me. I'll find him, but I talk a lot. See, so I don't think it'll be good for her.
Joshua Wilcox has an anger, dude.
Yeah,
like he has a seething anger for the world.
What was your belt rank in karate?
I got my black belt. I did.
Is that
I did it for about
6 months.
yeah, 12-year-old.
What was your highest belt you got in Taekwondo?
I didn't do it. I didn't do much. I wasn't very good.
Why are you going to show it for? What was your highest belt?
No, I'm not here to know.
You still got the yellow belt up in the room there, doesn't he?
I got my yellow belt.
Yeah, I did karate from for a long time. I did it for about 9 years.
Yeah.
So from about 6 through to 14 or something.
I always thought like I wouldn't mind 2 belts in something, and I went if I could achieve my black belt in jiu-jitsu, then I'd just go do Taekwondo for a few months, and then I can say I have 2 black belts. You know what I mean?
Do you think you will? I'm not even going to ask her. Rob, who's your favorite boxer if you have one?
No,
I'm going to ask. The next one is the one straight after that one. Dave, I want to ask.
I don't watch a lot of boxing.
Yeah, I was just about to say what was funny the other day is you didn't know who Canelo was.
No.
You were asking
What's wrong
of
with
a
you?
picture, do you know who Canelo is? That Canelo Alvarez? And
Yeah.
you didn't know.
Well, I do now.
You do now, yeah. You didn't then. This was 3 weeks ago.
Says, can you go down, Dave? Can you scroll down a little bit? It says, Rob and Fab, how surprised were you when
About Yoel Romero's boxing?
Yeah, when Yoel Romero came out with far superior boxing in their second fight.
I don't think his boxing was better in the second fight. I don't think it was technically better.
I thought Romero fought better in the first fight, but I think he landed bigger shots in the second one. But I think he's sorry to give a fucking. I should just go. Nah, Romero was great. No, I think Romero did better in the first fight. I think the strategy and the tactics were better. In the second fight, he landed bigger shots, but he took so much punishment as well. A lot of punishment. Rob, you said you never fight GSP because you like him too much. Do you regret that you weren't able to fight him?
No, it's.
Did you say that you would never fight him?
No.
Okay.
No, the fight never came to fruition. It's not something I regret because it's not something I had any control over. That fight just didn't happen for whatever reason. I did say that, you know, when it fell through and it was set in stone we weren't going to fight, that, you know what, I'm happy that we didn't fight because I do have a lot of respect for him. I like him as a guy, as a person, and yeah, I'm happy for him to do whatever he wants to do.
Rob, give us one Aussie dude who needs to be in the UFC.
One, I got several, like all my training partners, you know. Yeah, I got several.
Do these gentlemen have names?
Yeah, Jake and Malcolm, Izzy Fitikefu, and David Francis. Like those 3 guys have been lined up and just plugging away, working away. They're my main sparring partners, day in day out, every day in the gym with me, putting it on me, and yeah, they're more than ready. Hey
Rob, your thoughts on Martin Ewan, New South Wales native as well?
Yeah, great fighter. He's done a lot of good things in one. Yeah.
He's won both belts.
Yeah, like great fighter.
Rob, a lot of analysts think Israel is a bad matchup for you because apparently you don't do well against pure strikers. Do you think this is because of the Wonder Boy fight? Why do you think you lost?
Is that the only fight they're going off? Wonder Boy's a hard fight, period. And you know, I don't think I was ready for him at that time of my life. You know, I was pretty still fresh in the scene, and I didn't really have my training under me the way I do now.
And you didn't do like horrendously either. You were landing shots. He was landing, and he.
So, yeah, you know, I think if we were to fight nowadays, it'd be a very different fight. But mainly because I wouldn't make the weight. But like I did all right against Uriah Hall. He's a striker. I'm good against strikers.
Yeah,
I'm trying to tell myself that. No, I'm good against everyone.
Hey Rob, what are some tips for recovery?
Stretch. Yeah, just stretch and sleep properly. Eat well. That's the best thing you can do. Eat well, stretch, and sleep properly.
Lay off the cans.
Yeah.
And alcohol, sleep.
Don't drink.
Yeah. Who would win in a fight between Fab and Romero?
Which Romero, 1 or 2? Because they're very different Romeros. It's like Romero went like a full body change and come back a different person. Like we're talking to him like there was a significant change. Like they're two different people.
Rob, do you think having a rugby background has helped you in MMA, taking hits, etc.?
It's hard to say. You know, you'd have to look at the science behind that. I think there was a study that like kids that have been in a contact sport from an earlier age have the layer of thing in the brain is a little thicker. The gel water substance between your skull and the brain itself is a little thicker. But you'd have to look into that more thoroughly. I don't have a science degree.
Do you think Ringwraiths will play a factor in your next match?
Not particularly, because I like to stay active with competitions to get my adrenaline high and to put myself out there, to put myself in experiences where, you know, I feel that sort of adrenaline dump. Yeah. And
you're all training. You're in there training all the time. So it's not like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like you get to 200 kilos and then you come back and have to get in shape.
That's where people would feel it more. Ringwraiths is because I haven't trained or haven't had a training camp, a 6-week training camp in the last 12 months. Or if you're still training every single month of them.
And doing competitions. Competition is massive. That's a huge one. Your thoughts on doping in the UFC?
I don't know. I don't like cheating, period. I think cheating in the UFC is like cheating in any sport. Cheating in anything is a terrible practice. I was just awarded a prestigious award the other day. Very prestigious. One of the biggest awards that I've received yet. It was my 25 successful tests, USADA tests award. They gave me a free shirt. An actual award.
What's it say on it?
It said 25 successful USADA passes.
I can't believe that they give out an award for something that you're meant to, you know what I mean? Like,
that's fucking crazy. So when people hold up, look, I just passed the test.
I know. Like, you're meant to pass it. That's the whole idea of
thing. It's like, you didn't do anything amazing, buddy.
It's crazy. And I think some guys just got popped. Some guys recently just got popped again.
6 months bans on them, eh?
Well,
6 months isn't.
The thing is, like, what was weird about it was that they popped hot for it, like PEDs, in out of competition, but there was no intentional use proven.
Yeah, because they say it uses the supplement,
the banned substance, the tainted supplements.
Yeah.
Give me some of these supplements. Where they buy them from? Because I need every bit I can.
And why am I not hearing about UFC fighters like suing the pants off these
it should be massive.
Yeah, like I would hear if I got banned, if I got tested positive and banned from a banned substance, I'm putting that little tub that I was using in a vault and I'm going straight to court and I'll never have to fight again.
Can I ask, Fab, you might know, say for example I have a fight coming up at the end of the year. Could I, say for example, take my training camp to Venezuela?
Yeah.
Juice up, hectic. Would I? How long would I still feel the effects of them steroids or the performance enhancing drugs that I've used? How long will I still feel the effects of being clean?
Well,
do you know?
Well, in general, like most of the performance enhancing drugs are recovery based. So it's your ability to recover. So say for example, if you're able to train, instead of training twice a day, if you're able to train, just for example, like I'm using, instead of training twice a day, you train 3 to 4 times a day, and then you multiply, instead of training 10 times a week, you're training 15 times a week.
Yep.
And you multiply that over the course of 3 or 4 months. And also don't forget, you have two tests that if they come to see you, you go, nah, I wasn't here. What are you talking about? I was. So you have those 2 things. So and you're able to take small enough dosages that it just helps you to recover. Then your skill level and your cardio level and all of that, just alone from you just being able to train more often, it's going to be massive. You know, so if you're an older athlete that's able to still train like you're 25, and you do that for a fight camp, it's going to be huge. It's going to be a huge advantage. It's not that hard.
Yeah, just imagine going to training and not feeling like a horse kicked you.
Yeah.
Like after having like 4 back-to-back heavy sessions, that 5th not feeling like you've just been ran over by a truck.
Ready.
Yeah, you're good. Or just been ready for every session, feeling good and pumped.
It says like how far back should PED testing go? I think PED testing should go fucking however back, and also if you get done, like it should be years back that you lose, you know, like because you fought guys and you took them off you took guys off their title run, you know what I mean? If you tested positive and you beat someone,
that's a big can of worms. But opening
well,
that one
they don't want to do that,
yeah,
you know,
because
what I mean?
they know. Like I think,
well, you'd have to just give back Olympic medals.
Yeah.
You know. Well, Rob, was there any takeaways from the 2 Romero fights that have benefited you today and you can implement in your future fight?
Yeah, there was a bunch of little technical aspects that I've taken away from those fights that I'm working on day in, day out with the coaches, you know, especially the coaches. The coaches themselves have a very critical eye and they watch the fights over and over and just see how I can improve.
Overall, there's a few questions kind of touching on the same thing about you moving up to light heavy.
Yeah, I've seen a fair bit of that on the internet and stuff like that, a bit of back and forth.
You going up to light heavy?
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that I'll probably end up doing eventually. You know, not right now. After I'm focusing on Adesanya right now, but yeah, it's not out of the equation permanently. It's one of those things like I can move up. I'm a heavier guy normally anyway, and you know, I think I'd be fast up there. I'd hit like a truck, and yeah, you know, we'll have to wait and see. I'm not adverse to it.
If Jacare wins his next fight and you beat Izzy, would you see yourself fighting Jacare again? And how would that go down?
I have to wait and see. I have to fight Adesanya. Like, it's very hard for me to make any sort of answer any questions about who I want to fight here or this or that before I stone Adesanya.
What are your thoughts on weightlifting and incorporating a program that involves heavy lifting for MMA?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know because it's kind of outside my expertise, making the strength programs and looking at
just
things.
Lift them, eh?
Yeah, that's why I have Justin Lang, and that's why I go there because he points at something, he says lift that, and I do it 5 times. Yeah, 5 times. You go lift that 3 times, and that's how my strength program works. You know, sorry, mate. Ring Justin Lang. He'll be able to answer that for you, buddy.
Well, we actually want to have Justin Lang on the show again very soon. Yeah. So
save that question and come back next time we're doing. I think the next one we'll have Justin Lang on. So the next cast.
How was your recent Ultimate Fighter experience?
With me coaching?
Yeah.
Oh, it was hard. It was very hard. It's one of those things like the way we do things isn't for everybody. And we're very selective. Like here at home, we're very selective with who we train with, how we train, and the guys that we have in the team because how we train isn't for everyone. And it's not pretty, it's not glorious, it's not always fun. We just work, and we work a lot, and we do the same boring things we do 1 billion times because you need to. And you know when you get a bunch of guys like that you've never met before all in one room, and then you're forced to teach them how you learn. It's not for everyone, you know. And the guys that did pick up, like Juan, went very far. They aced the competition. You know what I mean?
They asked me here, Fab, would you rather be bald or ginger? What a lot of people don't know is that on my mum's side, everyone's ginger.
You're bald and ginger.
So inside, I'm like Blade. I'm like Blade. I have all the strengths of the gingers and none of their weaknesses. You can't tell that I'm a ginger.
You're a daywalker.
Yeah, I'm a daywalker. I can go in the sun. I can do all that shit, but inside I'm a ginger. I have all their strengths.
Hey, how much you bench? Too much. How much do you bench, Fab?
Not much.
The bar.
Yeah. We'll do a couple more, and then we'll cut out.
This is a hand gesture. Just there.
Fab, you don't have hair. I have a question. Rob, how does it feel to have the best hairline in UFC history?
Dude, that guy has repeated himself.
I know, that's why I get
100 times.
You know,
it's not easy having the best hairline. It's not easy.
Do you feel a lot of pressure?
Yeah, like more so than anything else. It's just the pressure. Every media obligation, every opportunity that I'm in front of the camera to show off my hairline. It's very important.
All right. On that note, I don't think we can go anywhere past. Like, I think that's too high.
He says, "Fab, how's it feel to sit next to a hairline like Rob?"
I don't feel good about
Grateful.
it. Like, grateful. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Please. What's that?
You posted the Snapchat video of the funnel web fight.
Oh yeah.
How would you rate your performance against a funnel web spider? For those that don't know, funnel web spiders will fucking kill you.
I had a dream about one like 2 nights ago. It was freaking me out.
I don't know if everyone saw it or not on my Instagram. I tried recording a funnel web like this big, crawled into my living room and was just cruising there, and I had to kill it. And I am terrified of spiders. And my wife is terrified of everything. So it was hard. It was a hard fight. It was a very, very hard fight. And if you don't know what a funnel web is, if you're not from Sydney, they are thick, angry spiders.
And they kill you. Yeah.
They'll literally kill you.
They bite you, you're dead. Like
dogs immune to it though.
Are they?
Yeah.
Really?
Same as chickens.
No.
Yeah.
Chickens.
I'm
getting some indoor chickens. They'll kill you, and people don't realize also they're aggressive. They're aggressive.
Okay,
Yeah, you go up to them, they stand on their back legs, and they start hissing at you. And
I don't know about the hissing.
They do. They hiss.
I never heard of them hissing.
The way I killed him was, the jigsaw mats. I threw a whole mat on him, like the whole thing on him, and me and Sophia gutter stomped him bad.
You didn't want it to be one of those people who puts it in a little cup and then take it outside?
You're supposed to. This guy's dead. He's so dead. We stomped him so many times. He almost got out as we were stomping him.
You got to be careful. I got full fangs, man.
Oh, he's not going to get through this much rubber.
Maybe.
And we were wearing shoes. but like the whole mat, we were stomping him. He still almost got out. Like with us stomping him, he got all the way to the edge and his legs were sticking out.
What was that guy's name in the class that used to catch him all the time and just walk around with him?
Anthony from Newcastle.
Yes, Anthony from Newcastle. Shout out to you, mate. This guy used to just catch him and walk around in class.
Dude, they are mental, and you're supposed to catch them and take them to the hospital for any of them, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
They should employ Anthony then.
Dude, that could be his job.
Yeah,
he was mad, but
respect to you. They would come out to attack him, and he'd grab them.
Yeah, I stomped it.
Just before we leave, there was a question before, Dave, about maybe you can answer that. Is it surrounding once we do get the program up and going in New Zealand about working with First Nations in the US and Canada? And I think Dave's already done some work in Canada.
Yeah. So I've already done some work in Canada, and we're sort of had a little chat with Las Vegas and looking at working with First Nations people over there as well. But our goal at the moment is New Zealand, and then after that we can look elsewhere.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and thank you very much for everything. James Bunt, Ashcroft. I went to school with that guy.
Did you
remember? Do you remember? Do you remember? Boys. Is it James Bunt or Michael Bunt? Michael Bunt was in our year.
Yeah.
So James Bunt must be related to him. Yes, from Ashcroft.
Crew?
Well, Michael Bunt was in our year.
2568.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thank you very much, guys.
See you next time.
Bye bye.